Hola a todos, ¿qué tal? Soy Nick Litwin de Mastering Mansion. Estamos aquí en la Musikmesse 2017 con Anssi Hyvonen, el diseñador, director de una de las marcas que están revolucionando el mundo del monitoreo. Muchos de ustedes ya la conocen, muchos de ustedes ya lo tienen y sobre todo muchos ya la habéis escuchado. Se trata de Amphion, de Finlandia. How are you, Anssi? How has been doing this year for you?
It's been a very humbling 3 years. I mean, you start from Anssi, these are really good, but nobody buys passive speakers in today's studios.
Yeah.
Into some of those guys who you own albums by and love doing stuff on your own products. So it's been humbling. It's been fun.
Excellent, excellent. So, lo que vamos a hacer ahora, le vamos a pedir a Anssi que nos comente un poquito toda su gama de altavoces, como acaba de decir y veis traducido. Se trata de altavoces pasivos, son casi diría, no sé si los únicos, pero prácticamente los únicos altavoces pasivos de esta industria. Ellos tienen también unos excelentes amplificadores, más allá de que se le puede poner cualquier otro amplificador, y son unos altavoces que realmente suenan fantásticamente bien, sobre todo dentro de unos rangos de precios que son muy manejables dentro de esta industria. Así que, Anssi, please tell us a little bit about the whole range, a little bit about what you think about designing and what's your goal while thinking about making a passive design, a new speaker that it's also a huge seller right now. I'm very happy to say it's all over the world.
We are actually this summer 19-year-old company coming from the hi-fi side. So we're probably looking at things from a little bit different perspective to a conventional monitor manufacturer. To me, the worth of the monitor is not in how it sounds, it's what the user can make with it.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of things in how people listen to their music, how people make their music has changed. And maybe the old tricks don't cut it anymore. And before even establishing anything or starting to develop anything, we try to analyze if there's a way we can understand what's been happening, and is there a way we can control this very fragmented world of modern playback.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the starting point, and what we found out that if we can come up with a mid-range seal that is strong enough that the, let's say, challenged playback devices can't break that anymore, then I think we can achieve a good translation regardless of what the playback device the customer is using. And it's not really so much about if they're active or passive. It's actually there are two things one needs to focus. One is driver integration, and another thing is how do your speakers integrate into your room, because you can never break that bond between speakers and monitors. That is kind of the starting point of everything. So one of the things I think what is a little bit funny about the speaker building business is that probably due to the fact that we started using the measurements to sell the stuff, we became very focused on what happens on 1 meter on axis, which actually gives you zero information on how they work in your room.
Yeah.
And nowadays, when we don't have the budgets to build the rooms around the speakers anymore, I think it's increasingly important that we also focus on what happens off axis, where the wall reflections come from. Because in the old days, the acousticians kind of fine-tune the speaker to the room anyway, but that is not happening nowadays.
There's no money, well, at least people is not willing to spend it.
Also, I think another thing is there's a lot of people who say, oh, it was so good in my previous room, but now that I've moved, it's so different. And if I was in the market for a monitor today, I would definitely want to have something that works in my current room as well as my next.
Yes.
And control dispersion is one way of achieving that.
Yes. Excellent. So tell us a little bit then about the whole range. You are actually holding a 112, which is the baby.
Yeah, maybe before we go into that, I can explain a little bit where we are different, what do we believe in, what needs to be done today. So one of the funny things of, again, speaker building is that, I mean, no chair manufacturer will ever put a seam in the middle of the cushion here where everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Yet 85% of the speaker manufacturers are very happy putting the tweeter crossover between 2000 to 5000, which is actually the area where we hear
hearing
best.
area. Yeah.
Yes. So we are using the waveguide to use the chair analogy to hide the crossover to the side, 2600 Hertz, which allows us to do a lot of things. First of all, we are using the driver with the lowest possible mass, which we can control the best in that area where our hearing is most sensitive. And one of the challenges of reproducing sound is that how do we start things quickly and stop them quickly without things vibrating? And of course, moving mass is one of them. Another problem often with monitors is that because the woofers tend to be bigger than the tweeters, how they couple into the air is actually not in balance. We are kind of extending the tweeter with the waveguide again, so it actually becomes pretty much identical to the side to the woofer. Another thing which is happening then, which is a little bit funny, it doesn't look like that to the ear, but it is like that to the eye, but it is like that to the ear. At 1600 Hertz, and in 21 degrees, the length of the sound wave is 21.5 centimeters, which is actually longer than the distance between the center points of the drivers in all of the products. So ear does not localize different drivers like it would if we would be using a 2.5 or 3.5 kilohertz crossover points. But since it's a 2 or 3 driver combination acting in as one in a point source manner.
Yeah, it's like a 1 point source.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, if we take the drivers out, actually the woofer is always kind of thicker, and the tweeter is much thinner. So if we don't move the tweeter voice coil back in a cabinet to be on the same line, we are creating a time difference at the source, which of course then we'll have to fix, but we believe that whatever we can achieve acoustically, we don't have to try to fix electrically. And then of course one of the things, always one of the sources of problem, as we kind of brushed a little bit, was that the dispersion patterns of the woofer and tweeter, if we don't modify that, are very different. But now we are actually achieving a wide uniform dispersion throughout the wide frequency band. So they work in acoustically more coherent and predictable manner in all kinds of rooms.
That's fantastic.
Last but not the least, I think we believe that the reflex port should be actually banned from music making.
Yes,
because
please do.
Because that can be any vented box, they cannot be controlled. You always have the initial energy and a tail following that, and that will mess up the things. And actually you can hear that in a lot of the modern mixing, because if you don't have the resolution in a monitor, you overcarb things in the upper bass, lower mids, and then what happens, of course, we are always listening to the never to the absolute levels of different frequencies, but how they relate to each other. So if we don't have enough energy in the lower mids, in modern music we need to have kind of energetic upper mid. It always comes through. So it's very important to come up with a monitor that allows you to keep a healthy amount of energy in the upper bass, lower mid without getting clouded.
Yeah.
And that, of course, the reflex helps in doing that. Not only do we get a better quality bass, more natural energy transfer, but it also improves the clarity in the mid-range, because we can control what's happening inside the box. There are no uncontrolled pressure changes, turbulences, etc. So actually also the mid-woofer is doing its job in a more optimal manner.
Excellent.
Then to the to the whole range. The naming policy, we're simple boys from Finland. We like to keep things simple. So the naming policy is so that if you have one, that means you have one woofer. If you have two, you have two woofers. Then the number is the centimeter or the diameter of the woofer in centimeters. So we have currently 112, 115, 118, 215 and 218. And then a base system which can be used with in principle all of these. I don't know anybody with 112 who uses a base, but anyway, how it works, it turns a two-way monitor sitting on top into a three-way full range by adding another 100, a crossover at 100 hertz.
Yes, that's fantastic. So, well, I guess this is more or less it. We could actually ask you a little bit about your amplifiers as well, because there's a lot of people who's going to say, okay, but this is a passive design.
Sure.
So what should I use?
Yeah. Sure, and of course, I mean, a lot of active manufacturers have been very good to talk about how superior the active crossover is to a passive one. I tend to agree with them that there are certain benefits if you do things in a traditional manner. We don't do that. But nobody talks about the fact what happens when you put your transformer inside your box where it's very close to the voice coils. Very difficult to actually isolate those problems.
Induction and so on.
There's a lot. I mean, a lot of things that happen. One of the reasons why we actually wanted to keep things let's put it this way. I was super happy that we managed to again get the idea of passive into the industry again, because to me, I mean, really the only way of hitting the price performance points needed in today's amplifiers is D-class.
Yes.
And yes, they've been developing a lot in the past 4 years, 5 years. To me, the beauty of digital is the curse of digital. That crazy development speed that gives us better, cheaper goods will also prematurely age everything it touches.
Absolutely.
And I see a monitor like being a pair of shoes. This is of course where women and men are different, but generally as guys we are like that if you find a comfortable pair, you break it in, you wear it until it falls off.
Exactly.
And I view the monitor the same way. If you find something that you're comfortable with and it works for you, you don't want to change. You don't want to be looking at the version 2 because the amps are getting better and the manufacturer 3 years later comes up with a slightly modified thing. So even if the version 1 is fine, in your head it's already old, and we don't want to do that. And of course, that's why I was super happy that we could actually isolate the digital component, the amps, into something that once something better comes along, if you want, you can update that. Yes. But it's easier than said and done, because it actually took me 4 years to find a D-class amp that I could pair with our devices.
Is it Hypex or what do you use?
It's a very heavy investment, and of course now we are looking at the situation a few years back, and I'm always on the lookout of if something better and cheaper or better comes, or higher performance comes along, but in those days I went through everything that I could find, and of course it's a heavy investment, so there are not so many manufacturers out there.
Hypex,
so I listened to Hypex, I listened to Ice Power, I listened to Pascal, a few others. I didn't like any of them.
Okay.
Then I found a small company called Amphion out of Sweden, and it's like, put it on, it's like, oh, finally a D-class that doesn't sound like a D-class.
Okay.
It just sounds like a decent amp. I called them that, hey, I'm Anssi from Amphion, and we are developing this Pro range. I would be interested in using your amp to power that. Yes, Amphion, we know you. We have used your hi-fi products to develop this amplifier.
Okay.
So no wonder
it was a natural.
No wonder it kind of worked together.
Okay, it was a natural concept.
Yes. Yeah. So, but it's a funny story, and that's of course what I tend to say to those who are so adamant about active being better. So my question is, what is better than a generic amp inside a active design, or something that has been developed with that particular product with a passive design.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
choose.
Come on.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter. I think the question is, does it do the job or not?
Yeah, one of the things I always tell most of my clients, like most, not all, but most active designs are actually using OEM amplifiers made in Taiwan or China. It's like they sell, they are the best amplifier for the speakers.
Well,
but
I mean,
but most times it's just not true.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can find good and bad
Yes,
things
of
about
course,
every
yes.
designs. To me, ultimately, it is, does it work for you or not?
Anssi, thank you very much.
Thank
we
you.
will keep talking and selling Amphion.
Yes, let's hope we can do the next interview in Spain. It's a wonderful country. It's been many years since I've been there, so let's hope there's an opportunity.
Let's do it in Mallorca or Ibiza or somewhere else.
Happy
Take care,
anyway.
Anssi.
Okay, thank you.
Gracias
Bye-bye.
a todos. Nos seguimos viendo desde la Musikmesse 2017 y en nuestro canal y en Audioforo para los amigos de Audioforo.